All right, so let's start the podcast. Welcome everybody to another episode of the Navs Effect Podcast. I'm your host Naveen Ganglani. Today's a special episode because we are joined by Benjamin Phillips, former DLSU Green Archers champion and team captain. Also a former men's volleyball standout for DLSU. I can go on and on and on just talking about the accomplishments and things that you've done. You've written a book in college, which is insane. You have your own businesses, I should say, more than one. And you just continue to pile up the accomplishments and the accolades. It's 6:38 in the morning there where you are, and you're wearing a suit coat. Bro, first of all, I love the dedication, respect, appreciation. Congratulations on declaring for the PBA draft. Why don't you tell everybody why you decided to do this? Why now? Why join the Philippine Basketball Association? What pushed you towards saying yes? Because I believe you're kind of on the fence there for a little bit, right?
Of course, of course. So, hello, ako po si Benjamin Phillips, galing sa DLSU Green Archers. Currently dito sa America, it's Ohio. It's 6:39 a.m. here. But this is a typical start date for me anyways, with a lot of the businesses that I run. But in regards to the PBA draft, I had spent a lot of time not speaking, kasama si Michael, si Isaiah, yung mga kapatid ko, tapos yung kapamilya ko, about, what is still out there, for me in this path that, the Lord has blessed me with. And obviously the PBA, which is the most, one of the most prominent leagues in Asia, it's very historic. There's been a lot of people reaching out to me about, what am I going to do? Former coaches, mga yung players sa PBA ngayon. And, I just wanted to just put my name in the hat and hopefully kind of embark on this journey. I have no idea where it will take me, but I know that I'll be ready for, whatever the Lord has in store for me. And I really wanted to feel like I still had more to give yung mga Filipino fans and yung mga kababayans dyan. So.
Absolutely, Benjamin. And if there's one thing I never doubt about you, it's your ability to stay ready no matter what. You were really reflecting on this decision for a while, or was this something you really knew early on? Because when I asked you a few times after the UAP season last year and early months in 2024, you're like, we'll see, still deciding, still weighing the options. So was there an event or two that really pushed your way of thinking from let's see to, I actually want to do this?
I think it was obviously being back home and kind of, resettling. I've been renovating my house here, spending a lot of time with my family here and kind of just missing my brothers. I think that was the main thing for me. We've always been a trio. We've always been a unit. Tapos, ngayon, I really miss them. I miss the culture, the Filipino people. And so I think that was really a striking point for me, as to say that there's still this life there that I didn't necessarily leave behind. Obviously, I'll always be a Filipino, but just kind of reminiscing on some of the things with our past championship run. And I think seeing Evan and Mark and F also declare for the draft, those are my guys. We're brothers forged in fire, and we wanted to kind of keep doing this. So once I saw yung mga teammates go and declare sila, it was okay. I think it's time to go now.
I think you're going to be one of those guys, Benjamin, that ends up being a better pro than a college player. One, it's because I think your big man rotation in LaSalle was pretty stacked and pretty deep.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you were playing behind guys like your brother, Michael, and Balti, KQ to some degree, all the other guys, Bright, right? But now I think in the PBA, you're going to be much more utilized. You're 6'6". You can spread the floor. You hustle. You play defense. Is there a specific team you think you will fit in particularly? And what exactly are the parts of your game that you feel will transition seamlessly to the pro level?
Well, obviously, I think whatever team I'm grateful to be selected with, I'll make sure to give my all. Pero speaking a lot with, Deshaun Winston and learning more about Converge, and also because, my former coach, Mon Jose, is part of the coaching staff for Magnolia. I was able to learn a lot from him and kind of look at how they play and their style. But really, I think my game is very, it mirrors of some of the PBA styles. It's very gritty. it's all hustle, it's all dedication. I'm just there to get the job done, whatever it takes, whatever is needed. So if I need to stretch the floor and come out and shoot, if I need to develop some more playmaking skills and ball handling skills to bring the ball up, or if I need to just be an inside presence and rebound and be more of a defensive stalwart, then all those things are dependent on whatever my team needs. But I'm amenable to whatever is needed for me.
Fantastic. By the way, our post on Instagram already north of 40 likes. Just 6 minutes ago, posted 48 now. Thank
Well,
you for
that's
sharing
because
that
of
as
you. That's
well.
not because of me.
Oh no, that's because of you. Come on, let's be real. Okay, we'll take a combined credit. But when Take Aim eventually posts it too, let's give them the credit because they're Take
Of
Aim.
course.
But definitely thank you to all the viewers watching right now. We got 10 viewers. By the way, this is the first ever episode of the Navs Effect that we are streaming live on playback. Yes, the Navs Effect podcast is now on playback. Thank you to the playback team for having us. Thank you to the viewers for joining us for our first
Salamat.
episode. And more than anything, thank you to Benjamin Phillips for being kind enough, my brother, for being kind enough to declare this PBA aspirations on playback on my debut episode. Couldn't have thought of a better guy to have on here for my debut episode more than you. Now, what are you doing exactly in preparation for the PBA draft, aside from what you're probably doing now, just sipping coffee?
Well, I think for me, my work ethic still hasn't changed, because sa umaga, I still work out every single day. I actually have a home gym in my basement that I've been building since I've been back. So there's a full weight set down there. There's everything that's needed for, my strength and conditioning. I'm building a cardio section, whether it's running every day as well. That's a part because now sobrang mainit dito because it's summer here in the States. So it's 90, 95, 100 degrees Fahrenheit. So really kind of mimicking that Filipino heat because I haven't missed that as much, but also keeping in shape. I'm still playing basketball 3 to 4 times a week here, doing some individual training, getting some runs in with former, whether it's D1 players, it's former pros, it's whatever it's needed to kind of keep accentuating my game. So making sure that I've also been bulking up. So I've been doing a lot of preparation, changing some of my diet, changing some of my workout structure so I can handle a lot of the physicality sa PBA because I'm not going to be going up against, UAAP players and NCAA players. These are grown men, sobrang malaki. So it's really been about kind of getting sure that I'm physically fit and mentally stable to handle, just the rigor of the PBA.
Absolutely. It's going to be a different game in the PBA, right? We
Mhm.
know this. You're going to be going up against, well, you went up against FSAs in college, but we know
Mhm.
when you take on the imports in the PBA, they're much more skilled, sometimes bigger, more athletic, faster. They're grown men at this point, right?
Mhm.
Well, you're a grown man as well. It feels like you're an old soul, to be honest with you. It's always felt that way. Do you think the three-pointer in your arsenal, which you really introduced in your second season with DLSU, season 85, do you think that's something you're going to have to work on some more because that's what might separate you from the other big men trying to enter the PBA? And that's the first question. The second question is, how do you feel you stack up against the other applicants that have currently announced that they will join the PBA? Do you feel like maybe right now you could fall somewhere in that first or second round?
So for your first question, obviously the 3-point shot, and again, I have to give all credit to Coach Derek Kumar and for that specific skill set that was developed. A little backstory on that: he's the person that pushed me to do the UAP 3x3. I want to say my second year, and that's where I was really able to develop the confidence for that shot, which flowed into that second season for me, coming from my rookie season, playing with my brother, playing behind Balti, and seeing how he was able to stretch the floor. I wanted to mirror some of my game after that because it is the separator, having a big man that's able to play inside out, stretch the floor, cause mismatches, and also on the defensive end as well. In terms of do I, see other people that are in my position or how I stack up, it really doesn't matter to me. I came into LaSalle as a non-recruit. I was a walk-on, and so my entire basketball career has just been about whoever's in front of me, I have to take them down. It's not about where do I stack up or where do I fit in. I make a room and I carve myself in there. And so obviously there's a lot of talent heading into the PBA this year, and so I'm really excited because I know some of them, I've played against some of them, and I think it's very, very good for the league overall. But if I have a goal, I'm determined to get to it.
How do you see the PBA right now? Because been people who have criticized the league over the last few years, right? It might not be as competitive, it might not be as entertaining, but then the recent events displayed or proved that there's excitement and competitiveness in the PBA when Meralco went all the way to beat San Miguel.
Mhm.
So watching that final, did that help you in terms of making your decision, being like, oh, I want to be a part of that. I love that energy. I love that atmosphere, and I want to be there. I mean, you did come from the UAP, so you have an idea of what it's like to be in a jam-packed Araneta Coliseum or Mall of Asia Arena. But in the pro level, you have to admit it might be kind of different, right?
Well, feeling I think that the UAP is just a different beast. I mean, it is along with the NCAA. College basketball, even here in the States, it's something that's extremely prominent because people can relive their alma maters. They have dedication, and it's extremely marketable for everybody. And so I think the UAP does have a place. But the PBA also has a place as well. This is where once that talent in the UAP and the NCAA or abroad, that's where it's on full display. And so you're seeing a lot of pros hitting their stride. You're seeing a lot of college players that you may have followed in the UAP or NCAA really kind of bring their game to the pro level ranks. And so I think even with, shout out to Chris Newsom, we had a lot of conversations when I was with the Gilas team for the SEA Games in Cambodia, and to see him, continuously work on his game. And he talked about some of his Ateneo days and what he had to do, and now, hitting a game-winning shot over, San Miguel in that championship game. It's just something that really brings parity back to the league. I love the San Miguel teams. Jamie Melanjo is another one of my good friends. Tim Cohn was one of my coaches for the SEA Games, so there's a lot of love across the league. But I think it's somewhat similar to this recent NBA series. You have the Celtics kind of getting their way. You have the Celtics, and you had everybody's, Ant was starring and shining with the Timberwolves. And so you had some different people kind of rise up through the league and develop new names for themselves that younger generations can attach them to. So the PBA is always going to have a place. People can always speak negatively on the PBA, but people are still watching. We are still playing, and we want to play. And the PBA is a great vehicle for us. And I think even with a lot of the guys that are looking at Japan leagues or Taiwan or Korea, we like that for the Filipinos, because we want to make sure that our name and our people are getting out in the world and demonstrating the skill set. But still, the PBA is still going to be our HQ, our home base. And so I'm just very blessed that I'm even able to kind of be in this position because the PBA has given us so much already.
And I think the PBA is also going to be blessed to have you, because whichever team drafts you, they're not just going to get a solid basketball player. They're going to get a great locker room guy, and they're also going to get someone who will be a great ambassador for their team. Is that something you look forward to? I know that you have always considered yourself someone who can contribute in more than just one way. You're not just an athlete. You're not just there to dribble a basketball, right?
Mm-hmm.
So do you want to take part in helping your PBA team with campaigns or messages or, outreach efforts for whoever ends up getting you?
Opo, in the Isupko, ever since I was little, sabi niya, yung tatay ko, he always said that you're more than an athlete, because he was the similar way. He played Division I at Eastern Kentucky University and then played professionally over in Luxembourg in Germany. But his focus was on computer systems, computer information systems, computer programming. He built a lot of the initial code that we're seeing today, in the 21st century. But that was because he was well-rounded. He always instilled into me and my two younger brothers that basketball will take you as far as you put into it. But there is a point that you also need to give more than basketball. Basketball does not define who you are. You define who you are, and basketball is a part of that. And so I think for me especially, bringing kind of a business side to it, my business acumen is still increasing, is still learning, and I'm very interested in the business side of the PBA as well. And that will go along with my studies, because even currently I'm still taking my DBA, or my doctorate in business administration. It's on the PhD level in business at DLSU. And so that's something that I'm not going to stop, and I'm going to continue and further as I continue to kind of catch up to my mother. Dr. Sharon Phillips is not playing around. It's her PhD or her PsyD is in psychology. So, there's more doctors to come from the Phillips family. But I think that I would very much like to kind of bring a different light to the PBA, not just to the PBA, but also to other Phil-Ams that are coming, that are kind of watching this, to other young players that are seeing this. I really want the emphasis to still be on studies, on school, because education is the great equalizer in this world. And so if we can have different inputs or different vehicles for success, and some of that will come from education, I will gladly be an ambassador for that.
I want to thank everybody watching the stream. And by the way, for those who want to come on stage and ask Benjamin a question, feel free to do so. All you have to do is comment on the message to the room section, and we'll invite you over to stage. Or if you're too shy to show your face or let us hear your voice, do comment your questions, and I will ask Benjamin live on air. It's interactive, and Benjamin is always one of the best guys when it comes to answering questions. Now, before we move on to the other parts, 2 questions. One, Michael and Isaiah, your younger brothers, they have 2 seasons each remaining at DLSU, if I'm not mistaken. And I believe they plan to play it out, or at least finish their time at DLSU before thinking pro. Yes or no? And then second question, hello to Nicole, my sister. Nix, thanks for tuning in. Nicole also play back with Lakers Nation, of course. And hello to Tonyo. Tonyo, thank you so much. Nicole's always a fan of your attire, Ben. Nicole loves your attire. Like, she could care less about whether or not LaSalle wins or loses. She's just like, what's Benjamin wearing today, man? My second question, in addition to the first, was, do you have a specific team that... guys, don't look at my view. Look at the Benjamin. That's more important right now. Question is, do you have a specific PBA team you want to play for, Benjamin?
For me, it really would be just a blessing to be drafted. From backstory for me, after high school, I made the decision to kind of pause basketball and just focus on my studies and focus on business, which is why I was able to attend Miami University's Farmer School of Business, one of the public Ivy prestigious schools, around the Midwest here, especially in Ohio. And so for me, I thought that I would be a, recreational guy. I had a really good high school career. I was, all league, all conference, or, in the U.S. it would have been mythical 5. But I never thought that I would be able to play for LaSalle. And so for me to kind of really embark on that journey and to grind from being, when I first arrived to the Philippines, everybody thought I was Michael's father. And I always say this in all of my interviews and everything, because maybe it was the beard, maybe it was the suit. But I was on nobody's radar, and I was the tatay of Mike, but
Ben, I bet whoever thought you were Mike's tatay wasn't the only one to call you daddy, right?
And so having to kind of just really just strap on my shoes and work every day, and that was my first time coming to the Philippines. And so under Coach, Jermaine Bird, and working through Coach Derek, and then ultimately getting to Coach Topex and becoming team captain and winning a championship with LaSalle, and bringing glory back to Taft. I think for me, that just shows that my dedication, my hard work, has paid off in some instances. And so whatever team drafts me, I will make sure to give them my undying loyalty and admiration, because they took a chance on me when nobody else would. And so I appreciate that.
And Michael and Isaiah will play out all their years of eligibility at DLSU. So we shouldn't expect Mike or Isaiah to join the PBA draft until at least 2026. Correct. Am I right?
Correct. And I mean, that again goes back to the education piece as well. As even though I would say that Mike is working on his game, meron yung 3-point shot na yun, tapos yung ball handling is a little bit better than it was, and he's working on that. And there's different aspects of his game that still has a lot of potential, and his motor will always be through the roof. But I think that he still wants to finish his degree. I don't think I know him and Isaiah wants to also finish his master's and pursue a doctorate as well. And so for us, we want to make sure that we finalize whatever we need to do with LaSalle, because they were the ones that gave us a chance. And we want to continue to be good stewards and good ambassadors of a LaSalle education of faith, service, and communion. Because again, like I said, education is the great equalizer. But they're very excited about the announcement. And I think being the trailblazer for the 3 brothers, myself kind of embarking on this, they'll be able to kind of see where I shine, where I falter, where I was nervous, where I was excited, and they'll be able to kind of push through. But I have to be the guinea pig first, which is kind of the weight of being the eldest.
No, for sure. I'm the eldest child myself, and if Nicole's still on the stream, she knows I have complained about being the eldest child a few times. Ah, talaga ba? Yes.
Talaga ba
Um,
yun?
but but I wouldn't change being the eldest child for anything in
Of
the world.
course.
I swear. I love being a motivation and inspiration for my younger siblings. Nicole is the middle child. Isaiah is the middle child for the three of you, right?
Opo, opo.
Sorry,
He's the
Nix.
middle
Mike
and
is the bunso.
Bunso Mike,
um,
yung halima.
but Isaiah is the best boxer from the three of you. I
Of
mean,
course,
correct me
and
if I'm
he's
wrong, right?
actually he's doing a lot of boxing workouts every day, even still while he's there. So he's very excited. His one of his goals is to represent the flag in the country, whether it's the next SEA Games or whether the boxing tournaments can be there as well, because he also is dual sport and multifaceted. But boxing is one of his major loves, and so even today, like while he's still over there and I'm here, a lot of times what we'll do is we'll watch some Canelo fights, we'll watch Ryan Garcia's fights, we'll watch Javante Davis fights, whether we're FaceTiming or Zooming and kind of streaming it together. But that's something that all three of us share.
Absolutely. I would love to see Isaiah represent flag and country in the boxing scene. I know that's something he's working hard to do. Nicole says the middle child is the smartest, funniest, wisest, most creative, and talented, in my humble opinion.
That is
But
Isaiah.
Ben, I'm sure. Well, Nicole, he agrees with you. And by the way, to the 17 viewers watching right now, thank you. For those who
Thank
missed the stream, by the way, I'll be posting the episode on my podcast on YouTube and Spotify as well. The Navs Effect podcast finally on playback. Thanks to Playback for having me. Thank you to Benjamin for being my first guest. Of course, always a thrill to speak with him, and there's more to come. And by the way, to the viewers, if you want to ask Benjamin a question, comment. I can bring you up to the stage. You can ask him. If you're too shy, you can ask your question in the comment section, and I would gladly ask Benjamin to know more. By the way, if you missed it, Benjamin Phillips declaring for the 2024 PBA Draft. Thank you, Karina. The Navs Effect is my favorite podcast too. Benjamin is joining the 2024 PBA Draft. I think he will go in the first round. I think he's one hell of a talent. He will be a better pro than he was a college player. But you know what, Benjamin? Basketball isn't your only passion, and it's something that has always drawn me to you because I have also been the type of guy that I have many passions in many areas. Like, yes, I do sports, but I also cover movies, TV,
you.
gaming. Now, before I get back to the point I wanted to ask you about, there is a question in the comment section from Batak. Stuk questions. So let's get to that first because this is PBA related. So before we
Of
move on, I want to
course.
ask this. First, who among the PBA players are you excited to play alongside or against? That's from Batax.
So I think Saakin, well, thank you for your question. Especially a lot of my former teammates, like I mentioned before, sila Deshaun Winston, Henry Galanatos, Zay Lucero. I'm very excited to either play alongside or against them, kind of to rekindle our rivalries, especially with Sila Henry and C Lucero. But I think, especially coming from my Gilas Inspire camp that I was there with C Mike, I was very interested in admiration from Calvin Off-Towner's game. He's someone who I'm trying to get to mirror my game after because his three-point shooting, his ability to stretch the floor and be an actual stretch forward into kind of a small shooting guard power forward, but his ability to kind of maneuver through all those positions at his size and his height. And he's somebody who was obviously recognized, at a high pedigree in the NCAA, who has turned into a better pro, in my opinion, by shining not just at the PBA stage, but the national stage as well. So that's another person who I'm very excited to go up against.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Benjamin. I'll get to the question from Pancho in a little bit. But first, I want to share to everybody that you can subscribe to the Navs Effect on Playback. Hit that follow/subscribe button and stay tuned because I'm going to come up with maybe daily episodes. We'll see. We're trying to make this a radio station here. Okay, same question actually from Pancho. Who are some of the players you want to team up and those you want to go up against? All right. So let's use the same question, but let's alter it a little
Okay.
bit. Okay, Benjamin. Who are the players that, if you had to pick a top three, who are the top three players that you think you can learn from the most when you become PBA pro?
Very, very good question.
If you had to
I
pick
think
three.
I have to go with for me, I call him Unk. I call him old head. I call him my Unk. Chris Ross. Chris Ross was
Ay,
was kind of one of my kuyas there at the Cambodia camp, in the Cambodian games, just because he was able to teach me a lot about the professional level and give me some words of insight and wisdom. So he would be someone who I would graciously continue to learn from. Again, June Mar is somebody who I've just been able to look at as the height and the pinnacle of the PBA. I don't have his size nor his game, but I think that his ability to kind of just stay the course and to have a long tenure as he's had in dominance and in just being able to really kind of strengthen his teammates, that's something that I've looked at, even from a locker room perspective, on what he can do. And then obviously I think even though that he's coming off of his game-winning shot, Chris Newsom is somebody I can learn from on the game for his defensive prowess, but also when I look at what Morocco has done and how they revolve around some of his words and his locker room etiquette and his ability to inspire his teammates, those are the things that I want to take that I can elevate from my LaSalle days. And how do I really be a captain or a leader amongst men when we're all pros here? Sometimes it's a little bit easier when you're in college. There's assigned roles. You kind of have some deference. You have some camaraderie there because you're a group of guys that have stayed together for a long time. I think that's a lot harder in the pros, and the guys that can do it should be celebrated and admired for that, because that is very hard when we talk about leadership. So I think those three guys would be people that I would love to learn from.
Fantastic. And by the way, you have more questions coming in. I really love this. I love their interactions of playback. Okay, first, let's go to a question from JM. JM, thank you for the question. Did you tell Coach Topex about declaring for the draft? And did he give you any advice, considering that he came from the PBA before coaching you at LaSalle? By the way, for those who don't know, Coach Topex coached Phoenix in the PBA before becoming the head coach of the Green Archers. So, Benjamin, the floor is yours.
So I haven't had a one-on-one conversation with him actually about this yet, but I remember speaking with him towards kind of the middle end of the season, after the season, about what the PBA was like, and him alongside Coach Gia Nazario, Coach Ramon Jose, especially Coach Kaloy Garcia with Rain or Shine. That's a breadth of PBA knowledge and wisdom, and so they were giving me a bunch of pointers about kind of how to conduct myself, which, I was able to really learn from and kind of instrument or, instill in the LaSalle team, how to be a professional, how to handle yourself every day. It turns from being a passion and from something you do in college to this is now your livelihood. This is how you feed your family. This is how you do these things. So it was just you different perspective. Like I say, they've been around it for, a lot of years, and they've seen a bunch of successes at all of the levels. And so that was a lot of the advice, was more so on the psychology and the mentality heading into the PBA and the difference between that and then the collegiate scene.
Amazing, amazing. Now, this next question is from Nicole. Which coaches do you want to play for in the PBA if you had to choose? That's her first question. And the second question is, does getting selected early in the draft, maybe top 5 or 10, matter to you?
Great questions. So I think recently I had seen Coach Jong get elevated
Yes,
as the head coach, and he was somebody actually, and I keep going back to the Gilas Inspire camp because that was some of the bedrock of my learning at a professional level. But he was somebody that I was very drawn to. I mean, he would break down me and Michael's form, break down our shots. He just has a wealth of knowledge from everything that he's been a part of, all these teams at the assistant level, at the head level. So I think he is somebody I would love to play for, especially, as another LaSallian as well.
And Lex, you know what to do.
And then with getting selected early in the draft, particularly top 5 or top 10, matter to me. It actually does not matter to me if I would be drafted, 25 or 30 or 40 or whatever the draft number would be. It would not matter to me. Obviously, there's different sections, there's different benefits, there's different expectations. But as when I hear my name drafted, if that's the case, then I know that I have made it to this second stage and it's time to get back to work. And so for me, it's just about, it's time to clock in. It's time to put on my work boots, whatever time, whatever name, whatever team. That's just my mentality heading into the draft. So whatever team, if I get picked number 1, if I get picked last, they're going to get 100% of me.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you, by the way, to all 18 viewers checking in right now. Again, if you want to ask Benjamin a question, you can ask by coming on the stage. Just let us know in the comments if you want to come on the stage. Don't be shy. But if you are shy, you can also ask your questions on the comment section when you see the part that says message the room. Next question from Batax. You might become the missing power forward, which is badly needed at SMB. Do you agree, Benjamin? Should San Miguel bring you on as the starting power forward next to Junmar?
Obviously, I would very much admire that. I would graciously accept them, SMB and the rest of the San Miguel teams. I want to thank, obviously, as a testament to Boss ECJ, who actually gave us our first chance. I was able to have a dinner with him and my family and Mike when we first arrived to the Philippines. So I always want to make sure that the San Miguel Corporation and all of their teams and all of their constituents have my full support. So whatever they need, I'm there, whether it's basketball or not.
Amazing. Next question from Tonyo. Just curious, are you a Cavs fan being from Ohio? Now, I know you've been working with the Cleveland Cavaliers. We'll talk more about that later when we get to business. But are you a Cavs fan, Benjamin, seeing as you are from Ohio?
Absolutely. I should have brought my Cavaliers hat down from upstairs, but I'm definitely a Cavs fan. We're doing a lot of work with them on the business side as well, and I was recently able to kind of see them when Kevin Durant and the Phoenix Suns came to town, and so I was able to watch Darius Garland just be amazing at what he does, and so being a Cavs fan, hopefully, who knows, there might be one last reunion with LeBron and Bronny, but we'll just leave that up to the NBA.
Oh, are we getting like NBA insider Benjamin Phillips right now, telling us something we don't know? Hello to our guy Denzel. Denzel, thanks for joining us here on Playback. Denzel seems to be a very popular guy. A lot of reactions in the comment section. I'm not surprised. Denzel also has the best sports gamblers in the Philippines today. So if you guys want betting advice, check him out. Now, Celtics Manila, my guy Jarrell. First of all, congratulations to your Boston Celtics, as much as it pains me to say that as a Heat fan. But congratulations to the Celtics winning the chip. He says, it's so refreshing to hear a local athlete saying po and opo. Man, Benjamin, this goes to the way your parents brought you, Michael, and Isaiah up. Kudos to them. They have raised three fine young gentlemen. When did you start learning to say po and opo? Let's make that into a question. When did that, start being a big part of your personality?
Yung first Tagalog teacher sa akin was actually Sila Michael. So we had never learned Tagalog growing up. Obviously, my mother is Filipina, pero she was born in Chicago. And so we would hear, different aspects or dialects of Filipino because my tita, but she mainly spoke Cebuano or Bisaya. And then, my Lola would speak Tagalog as well. But we never were trained or spoke it back to them. And so when Sila Michael was heading over to the Philippines, I want to say this is 2017 or 2018 or somewhere around there, that was actually our first time learning Tagalog. And so, for me, I would just watch, mga teleseries, mga scandals on Netflix. And that's how I would learn Tagalog, because I would have the English subtitle at the bottom, listening to Manaming OPM music, Gary V, who I have a really good relationship with. So shout out to Gary V, Mr. Energy. Ben&Ben, who I was super jealous that Mike was able to meet them. They're my favorite band. I always wanted to be Ben and Ben, but that's a different story. And so that's how we started to learn. And obviously our parents raised us, number one, in the house of the Lord, number two, with deference and admiration, respect to my mother and father. So we would always grow up saying, yes, ma'am, yes, sir, no, ma'am, no, sir. And so just being able to translate that to Filipino, which was already embedded in the culture, it made it an easy transition for us.
Amazing. And another thing that's amazing is all these questions coming in right now. Benjamin's a popular guy. Thank you to everyone checking the Navs Effect on Playback. Yes, the Navs Effect is now on Playback. Next question here from Batax. What position are you more comfortable playing, the 3, the 4, or the 5 when you get to the PBA?
I think being able to flow between all of those different positions and keeping aspects from each position in my game will help translate to a more flexible offense and defense for whatever team is looking to engage my services. That was the case in high school, and that was also the case at LaSalle, where sometimes you have to guard imports or FSAs or the larger people. So sometimes your role for that specific game or that specific that track of games is to just be defensive stalwart and then take them out, while your other offensive strategists like Evan Nelly's, like your Deshaun Winston's, like your Mark Nonoy's can facilitate and they can score more. Other times, if you have a mismatch at a 3 or 4 position, and because of my height, I'm able to put the ball on the ground and attack the basket or space the floor out and shoot. Being able to kind of be a bit bulkier and a bit stronger than some 3s or some 4s. And so that's an aspect of my game as well. And so I think that even at LaSalle, I was never having my game constrained to one position, and that's just the position of basketball now. Is that as we're heading to positionless basketball, us as players need to be able to gravitate towards other positions. So I really want to work on, the 3 position of my game, being more of a 3 and D. And so I think, being a 6'5", 6'6", 3 and D, that would really elevate my game as well. When I look at like a Jeremiah Gray or a Calvin Off-Tanner, like those kind of guys is where I want to see my potential go into, because they're fantastic heights for their position and their skill set. So that's what I would say to that.
Absolutely. You're going to need to slide your feet a lot more on defense,
Absolutely.
especially when you're matched up. Imagine getting switched out on Chris Newsom in the perimeter. Man, Benjamin, I know you're going to do great, but at that moment, I might be praying for you just a little bit. Just a little bit. Another interesting question here, Gilas related, from Andre. Andre, thank you for the question. What are your thoughts on the Olympic qualifiers?
Oh, wow. Well, I think, I want us to get there. Obviously, we never, in recent history, at least to my knowledge, been able to kind of get over that hump and really see the Philippines in basketball kind of be shown at the Olympic level and shown at that level. But I know the Gilas organization, the San Miguel Corporation, everybody there, they're doing a fantastic job assembling that team. Shout out to Mason Amos. Obviously, we were talking a lot in the SEA Games, and so I think the young kid is really starting to step up and come into his own. But also shout out to all the other athletes, from the Philippines that are representing, whether it's Taekwondo or boxing or all the other sports. I think that they need their recognition, and our full support is behind them. I still wear my Gilas, my pullover almost every day, and I make sure that I'm still rooting for us as an entire country, and I want us to be represented there. I actually want to get out to Paris for the Olympics, and so we'll see if I can get out there in time for that. But I'm really, really excited.
You're gonna need to do one of those, daily vlogs where you probably do reviews of different croissants. Did I say correctly? Croissants around Paris.
Croissant.
I mean, come on, man. Come on. Good question here from Tonyo. What aspects of your game have you been working on in preparation for the PBA draft and the PBA?
I think the difference in UAAP and PBA, number one, is physicality. And then number 2, which me and Coach Kaloy talked ad nauseum about, is the intellect, the IQ. And so, you might not have the fastest or, the most athletically gifted people on your team or at a position or whatever it is, as compared to the college level, where if you're just faster than everybody, like a Mark Milnoy, obviously you can beat players down the floor, you can get layups, and that was due in a large part to, number one, Coach Topex's trap defense, his full court press with Coach Derek, and the ability for us to just run. In the PBA, what I've been seeing, what I've been analyzing, is you just have a lot of smart players. They've been doing this for a long time. They're professionals and they're elite at their level. So their ability to read defenses, their ability to switch defenses, their ability to operate within, whether it's a flex or whether it's a 5 out or whether it's a 4 or a box and 1, whatever it is, that the opposing teams are throwing at you, their ability to break that down and switch on the fly. And so I think for me, it's doing a lot more of game analysis, reading, understanding player attributes and characteristics. That's something that we did a large part of at LaSalle. So we had an amazing coaching staff that really broke down game film analysis. But at the professional level, it's a different beast. And so I think for me, that's one of the main things I need to work on: watching more games, understanding player tendencies, understanding coaching schemes, which is why I mentioned Chris Ross earlier. He's a player and one of the assistant coaches at the same time because of his intellect and his pedigree for the game. So that's what I would say to that as well.
Amazing. Loving these questions, by the way, from everyone. 17 viewers right now. Thank you. We've had a lot of viewers since the stream started. Keep the questions coming. Again, you can ask the question on stage. Join us. If you're shy, you can ask the questions in the comment section. Good question here from Tonyo and Denzel. I'm just gonna put them together in one here. Tonyo wants to know, Kuya Ben, the Navs Effect community wants to know who are the favorites for UAAP season 87, and Denzel on the other hand wants to know who is in your final four for the UAAP if the season started today. Woo! Spicy!
Wow, very
Sriracha!
spicy. We're getting some UAP here in June. Okay. So obviously my favorites for the UAP, and this is not because I'm biased. Well, I guess it always will be, but it will be LaSalle, not because that my brothers are there, but because I think our camaraderie, our reputation, our willingness to accept Coach Topex's trials and tribulations to come together as a team, like beyond the X's and O's, at the college level, when you can have 16 players bought into a system, that's always going to set you apart from people. And so I think that because that core is still there, they've lost some veteran leadership in myself and Joaquin Manuel, Mark, Evan, but they've been able to assemble some pieces. So I'm monitoring them daily and looking at kind of how they're doing and what they're about. My plan is to hopefully join them in Japan so I can see how they're doing there at the WBS as well. So obviously them and UP are sitting at the top, in my opinion, right now. But what I've learned from my 3 to 4 years in the UAAP, one, preliminary rankings mean nothing when the season starts. And then even during the season, things change, things alter, things fall. So I always say that, with Coach Nash and Adamson, FEU's new coach and Coach Combs, so all of these people, Ateneo, even with, their position right now, Coach Tab and their recruits that are coming in, like everything in the UAP is a flick of the wrist for anything that can happen during the season at any stroke, at any level. So that's what I would say to kind of my favorites and even my Final Four. If I had to just, pick a Final Four right now, it would be LaSalle, UP, I'm going to say FEU. I'm going to put FEU in there because I know that their coach is one of the most brilliant, strategists, and he is a good player when I look at some of his game as well. And I'm going to say Ateneo there. I'm going to say Ateneo. Now, I know NU is doing well as well. They had a very good preseason, so I've been monitoring them. But, the UAP is going to be an exciting one. This is going to be an exciting season for 88 or 87, rather.
For sure. And I'm curious too, by the way, Benjamin, would you be open to joining the DLSU staff as an assistant coach if the opportunity presents itself? Is that something you're going to pursue?
I think that would be a dream come true, being able to again, when we talk about intellect, I think sometimes you get that in different phases. So sometimes you get that from being an analyst. Sometimes you get that from like yourself being a reporter and being around and breaking down the game and understanding. And then a large part of it is from the coaching side, and so I think that being an assistant coach of De La Salle would, number one, be a phenomenal opportunity, and I would very much welcome that. And it would allow me to kind of still pour into a lot of the young guys that are coming up, because that's something that I had when I was there. Kurt O'Hara took me in, Balti took me in, Algin Malesio took me in, and having that as a captain, them being my former captains, that's really helpful as guys that are coming in. So what more as an assistant coach can I provide to these guys? Coach Miggs and Coach Jello, they did the same thing to me as well when they were my strength and conditioning coaches. And so I think having that as a younger guy, relating to the younger guys and still learning and working on my game would be a match made in heaven there.
Amazing. Now, there's one question here from Nicole that I'm very curious for you to answer as well. Who, in your opinion, is the top 5 best dressed basketball players in the country? Some fashion analysis here.
Wow, best dressed basketball players in the country. Well, I think it's going to be interesting to see this coming UAP on what some of the styles are going to be. I have no idea if people will even, mirror some of the elements of fashion that I brought to the game.
Probably not.
There's a bunch of things happening. Shout out to Adidas for me for kind of their breakthrough and a bunch of the fashion things that they're doing. They're doing a bunch of athleisure, a bunch of cool things like that. So I think people that kind of follow that trend or that are incorporating different elements into that would make them. But as of now, I'll have to wait and see. Who are the best dressed basketball players.
Awesome. Now we have a few more questions here. Let's do it rapid fire style. First, from Denzel, what's your most memorable game in your UAP journey? And by the way, I'm not going to allow you to answer the day you won the championship here because that would be the
Right.
obvious answer, right? So, aside from that, what would be the most memorable game for you?
Yeah, rapid fire. I would say the day that we lost to Ateneo, I want to say in that first round. I remember the
Hmm.
day after, and I said this in a previous interview as well. So that's how I know that it still is in my head. That next practice was the most like intense, physical, mentally straining practice because all of us were mad at each other. We were mad at ourselves. We had long talks. I mean, that was kind of a very turning point for us because we had to literally look each other in the eye and say, what are we going to do now? We've been punched in the face. What are we going to do for the rest of the season? And then from there, we really started putting the pieces together. So for me, I'll never forget, not necessarily that game, but the practice after that game.
Okay, next question here. Any members of your draft class you're excited to play with? You already answered earlier, Francis and
Mhm.
Evan, your batchmates. So aside from the two of them, who from your draft class would you be excited to play with?
I mean, again, I don't know if he's going to declare, if he has declared. I'm not familiar, but if Balti does bring his talent and his skill set and his intellect to the PBA, he would be a wonderful person to kind of either play with or even play against. I learned a lot from Balti in my formative years with LaSalle, watching how he approached the game, watching how he broke out in Gilas. And he was one of the original people that I looked at when I was starting to develop my three-point shot at a higher level from what he did at Gilas. So I would just say Balti.
Amazing. This next question from Denzel. Would you rather drain a game-winning shot or lose the game but have a triple-double?
Uh, Absolutely game-winning shot. I don't like to lose, and so even if I have a triple double, I don't care if that game-winning shot is the only points I had of that game. As long as me and my team win, that's all I care about.
Amazing. Speaks to your character, of course. And by the way, to anyone who wants to ask more questions, feel free to chat in the comments section. I'll ask Ben gladly. Now, Ben, you have had different interests throughout your
Mhm,
life.
mhm,
Aside from being a basketball player for DLSU, now a champion, you also played in the men's volleyball team in season
mhm.
85. You wrote a book. You own a business. So why don't you share with us everything else you're doing so the viewers can learn more about what it is exactly you're really dipping your feet into?
Absolutely. So I think from the book side, obviously my one of my companies, Lone Wolf Mentality LLC, which if you look up lonewolfmentality.org, that's one of my websites, one of my publishing companies. So right now I'm working on my fourth book, which actually details my entire journey coming from Miami to the Philippines over my past 4 to 5 years, everything from the highs and lows, all of the coaching changes and different structure changes, my stint with Gilas, understanding and navigating kind of the professional and endorsement world. And so my first book obviously was Lone Wolf Mentality LLC. My second book was not published. That was a private book for a private engagement. And then my third publication was actually my thesis on knowledge management systems for the business hospital, which is my company. And so that was my MBA thesis for LaSalle. And so being able to kind of have that scholarly work, I want my fourth book to kind of be a continuation of my Lone Wolf Mentality series. And so hopefully that will be written or published later this year, early next year is what I'm targeting. And so that's what I'm working on there. From a business side, the business hospital, which I'm the COO of, is literally what it sounds like. We are a hospital for businesses. And so small businesses, people that are starting up a food kiosk, or they have a new innovative app, or they're doing something, in apparel, whatever it is, my company is constituted and constructed to help them. And so being able to work with the Cleveland Cavaliers all the way down to, my brother Mike is launching his own apparel line. God did clothing and everything there. And so being able to kind of just see the breadth and the depth of these companies. We're in 15 countries around the world. I'll be with the United Kingdom later this week doing some work there for a lot of our businesses and patients. We call them patients. So my goal is to be the next business doctor. of the business hospital. So Dr. Baker, who's my mentor and business partner, his PhD is in business and leadership and AI. My dissertation focus will be on marketing and AI as we kind of move towards a knowledge society. And so those are just some of the things that I've been doing while I've been back, in tandem with preparing for the draft and doing my studies and getting, my house renovated and everything like that. So it's been very busy. But there's no rest for the weary.
So you have a team to help you with the business doctor to help analyze businesses, send them to places like UK and elsewhere, kind of, as a consultation. These are the areas you can improve on. Like, for example, let's say I had a business, hypothetically. Let's say I started a clothing business and I go to you and I'm like, Benjamin, I need the business doctor to help me out here. What would be the first steps you would do?
Absolutely. So the first things that we would do, no differently than if you had cut your toe, if you had COVID, if you broke an arm, is you have to come to the hospital. We're going to give you your diagnosis, right? So as we're looking at your business, we're hearing things that you're saying as to identify what your pain points are. From that diagnosis, we give you a business physical. No differently than your BMI, which is your body mass index, and that's your rating. We've developed over the course of decades of scholarly research and doing business at a very high level, your BHI, which is your business health index. And so we've identified 22 different measures of health for a business that will construct or constitute how healthy your business is. So for example, if you come to me with that apparel company and you say, I have this shirt or these pants or this hoodie or whatever it is, and I want to turn this into a business, I'm going to look at your supply chain. I'm going to look at your legalities and how you're constructed. Are you an LLC? Are you a single member? Are you turning this into a corporation? I'm going to be looking at your finances. What is your pro forma? What are your forecasts? What are you looking at this business to be? Is this a 10K a month business or is this a 100K a month business, right? And there's different levels to it. Then we have to look at your marketing. Are you doing SEO? Are you doing Google advertising? What's your marketing strategy? What are your different frameworks for how you're going to launch this? On and on down to 22 different metrics of what we call business health, because a small business can't contract a larger entity like an Ernst & Young or like a McKinsey & Co. or like a Bain & Company, right? But they are fantastic consulting firms, the best in the world, right? But P&G can foot those bills. Kroger can foot those bills. Naveen in his apparel company necessarily don't want to come off of $3 or $4 million US, to help with this clothing company. So where do you go? We wanted to be that entity that helps small businesses, because especially in America, small businesses are 99% the backbone of this economy, right? And I know it's similar in the Philippines because I've been studying that sector. You have entrepreneurs everywhere in the Philippines, which is why I want to help as well.
Incredible what you're doing, really. And that's just really the tip of the iceberg. You're also working with the Cleveland Cavaliers in this regard to some degree. Am I right? You went to the Cleveland game a few weeks ago and you have a partnership brewing?
Absolutely. So we've been managing and massaging this our relationship with the Cleveland Cavaliers. We've done a bunch of work previously. Some of it is with a technology that we've created called Pro Elite Training, and so it's an application that trains athletes using the metronome of music. We have some apparel ventures that we're also working with the Cleveland Cavaliers as well, called Graduate, which is a nonprofit that helps students and kids graduate through kind of the funds from our clothing company. And overall, just with the Cleveland Cavaliers, they're looking to engage in more market share in different parts of the world, like any NBA team. But what's very interesting about the Cleveland Cavaliers is that they have a foothold in Brazil because of Anderson Varejão. And we have a business hospital operation in Sao Paulo, Brazil, through Mr. David Drake, who's been down there for 20 years, who actually is the father of a Miami University alum. So that's how we got connected. And so we set up a business hospital down in Brazil, which I'm supposed to be in Brazil later this year as well. But we're looking to accentuate and accelerate the Cleveland Cavaliers expansion and recognition throughout Latin America and South America. So really, really excited. We have some cool things working with them. And so it's been a lot of fun. Business is fun if you're doing it the right way.
Absolutely. And if you're doing it for a good purpose too, something to help others, right? Like you are with your nonprofit. It's incredible. I have a question I want to ask when it comes to business and balancing everything. But first, I want to get to some questions in the comment section. Let's do it rapid fire style too from Denzel. What's your message to young kids aspiring to play pro basketball?
take it one step at a time. You're not going to shotgun this thing. It's not something that you can just run full speed at. You need to methodically take your time, understand the process. Joel Embiid says, trust the process. It was similar for me. You're not going to become a pro basketball player by playing one game and you're thinking you can be a pro. You need to look at the entirety of pro basketball. You need to also look at yourself and say, what are the steps I need to take to get there? It is a journey. It takes time, and you will falter and fall. But as long as you keep going, you'll be fine. That's all I'll say to that.
Amazing. Next question from Tonyo. Would you consider a coaching career after your playing years? You seem like you can definitely coach immediately after, a la JJ Redick.
Shout out to JJ Redick, man. I'm excited to see what he does with the Lakers. You know, I've been following his podcasts and his conversations with Braun as well. I would definitely consider a coaching career. I think coaching is another way to get back to the game and still be a part of it and really impart what I've been able to see from the coaching staff that I was blessed with. Coach JB and his staff, Coach Derek and his staff, and Coach Topex and his staff. You know, they've really shaped and molded my career. When you have an opportunity and an ability to shape, mold, and impact, you know, the youth and people that are looking to do something at a high level, you know, you get all the satisfaction from the world from that. So I would definitely consider a coaching career. Would love to, actually.
What games do you play on your PC? Denzel wants to
these
ask.
are real questions. That's what I like. So actually, I just started playing God of War because my brother was a big God of War.
Nice.
Big God of War. So I'm playing God of War so I can hurry up and beat it and then play God of War Ragnarok. I'm a big nerd, big gamer, by the way, everybody. Like that is the main thing that I do. So a lot of League of Legends, a lot of CSGO, Rocket League. I'm really looking forward to my favorite game of all time is Dragon Age. And so Dragon Age releases later this year. So you'll catch me doing nothing but playing Dragon Age when that drops.
Question from Mike's Kong. Kuya Ben, let's play Valorant. Do you play Valorant?
Ta-da, let's go. Ta-da.
Nice. Hit Ben up online and he just might play Valorant with you. Next one from Denzel here. Did you consider playing in the MPBL before joining the PBA Draft?
Oh, good question. Yes, actually, I did consider, especially because I had spoken with Sila F. Eskandor and DJ Mitchell, who we're all still in contact. And so when I looked at what they were doing and what Mark Milnoy and CJ were doing with ELO, their MPBL team, I was considering it, kind of just to continue that next transition phase between the PBA. But obviously, when I came back here to really kind of get the businesses going that needed my full-time attention in addition to my studies, this is where it led me for this particular point in my life. But I did consider playing the MPBL. Who knows? Maybe even in the future as well. That league has a bunch of talent, a bunch of dogs in that league, and it's very exciting to watch as well.
Definitely. I'd be excited to watch you in the MPBL too, but now I'll get to watch you in the PBA, and that's going to be exciting. But the one I wanted to ask from earlier is now, there are different beliefs when it comes to progressing and accomplishing your goals.
Mm-hmm.
There are those who say that you need to focus your time, your attention, your energy, and everything into one, right? You have to live and breathe it. It has to be part of your lifestyle. And then there are those such as yourself. I would consider myself a little more towards the spectrum where we do different things. And because we do different things, our time has to be adjusted accordingly in order to accomplish one step at a time for these different objectives, because it's not like we're going to accomplish these objectives on a snap of a finger like that, right? It's one step after another. And sometimes you're going to take 2 steps back before you take 1 step forward.
Mm-hmm.
So given everything you do, given that you have to divide you're trying to be a pro baller in the PBA, you're working with the Cavaliers, you have a business, you have a book you're trying to write, and you're also trying to play video games at the same time, and living your life, having a social life, right? So given all that you're doing, and given that people believe to really excel at something, you have to focus all your time and energy in that one aspect before moving on to others. Where do you fall in that spectrum of belief? Do you feel one is a stronger belief over the other?
No, actually, I don't. I think it depends on personal preference. So the way that I was raised, I was able to really see my mother and father and what they were able to do, right? So when I look at my father, for example, who is literally my superhero, I mean, he's the number one guy for anything I go to, and just kind of looking at my life modeled after him. but he was the same way. You know, he was a basketball player who loved basketball, who also was a computer geek who loved computers and who wanted to get into business. And so kind of seeing how he navigated doing different aspects of both helped him to formulate a well-rounded, man that he is now, and being able to raise 3 boys and let them kind of fly out the nest and, go off and search the world and do those things. So I think that is a method, one more that which I lean to because that's what I grew up with and that's what I saw. I also think that even in that same household, like me and Mike are completely different. Mike wants to be locked in a basketball gym from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., take a 30-minute break for food, and then go right back in the gym. Like he is completely on the Kobe Bryant mentality because he wants to refine his sword and have it be the sharpest thing in his armory. Whereas for me, I want to have a bunch of different weapons, right? So if I need to use a sword, if I need to use a spear, or use a bow and arrow, or use a mace, like that's just kind of how there's different approaches to it, but we're still fighting the war. And that war is just how can we better ourselves every day, right? And so for me, I don't necessarily see one approach as better than the other. What I will say is that it depends on the person, is that if you want to be the best and you want to have that mentality of being the best, then you better have that best work ethic. Like you can't just say that and then try and do a whole bunch of stuff. But if you're trying to do a whole bunch of stuff and you say, I want to be the best at one thing, then you're disregarding, 3 or 4 other things. And so you have to live with that personal preference. And so as I'm going through this journey of life, I'm looking at, I want to be a professional basketball player. I want to be, a very astute businessman. I want to be a scholar at the terminal degree of a doctorate level. I still like to do music. I still like to do video games. I'm very big in the arts and reading and all these things. So for me, my life looks very differently, and the time management is a lot different as well. So there's no personal, or there's no preferred method one way or the other, because as long as you get to the result that's in your mind, then you've achieved what I would say is your personal level of success.
Fantastic. I love that answer. And I believe in what you said. So I think it's person to person, right? There are those whose attention span can focus and just really focusing on one thing all throughout. And personally, myself, I need to juggle a little bit, keep everything fresh, gather new ideas.
Exactly.
And I just love doing that. It's what makes every day exciting. Hello to all 15 viewers watching now. And thanks to all those who have watched since the start of the stream. Now we got some quick questions here, rapid fire again. I will go through them. First from Zoenism, aka Enzo. Enzo, thanks for joining the stream. Kuya Ben, who are the best dressed hoopers in the local basketball scene? Ben, you'll have to give me a list now because that's the second time this has been asked. Who do you think are the best dressed local hoopers? And a few more questions here. What's your favorite go-to Filipino meal? What's your favorite OPM song? And are you a fan of Bini?
Oh, I love Beanie. So best dressed hoopers in the local basketball scene, at least from when I was there. Deshaun Winston had a bunch of cool fits. Zay Lucero had a bunch of cool fits. When I look at Chris Ross now, he's always stood up, especially his shoe game. Chris Ross's shoe game is unmatched. Favorite go-to Filipino meal. Actually, I just got back from my titas, and she made a bunch of Pansa Canton and Lupiang Shanghai. So I think for me, that's the standard answer because that's just what I grew up with. I mean, it's exquisite. Favorite OPM. Oh, actually, that's difficult because Gary V and Ben&Ben are what I grew up with when I was learning Tagalog, obviously. And so my playlist would always revolve around there. But as you know, I'm an old soul. So you have VST and Co. You have, First Love Never Dies. So I'm a music connoisseur. I grew up playing, piano, guitar, saxophone, jazz. Jazz was my favorite music and still is. So obviously that's kind of that's what I would listen to before games would be Duke Ellington, John Coltrane, all of that stuff. And I am a fan of Beanie, yes.
Okay, you gotta give us a preview. Sing like a few lines of your favorite Ben&Ben song.
Oh my gosh, you put me on the spot at 7:42 a.m. Oh my goodness.
I know you're a great singer, so I am giving you the chance to shine here. I also want to hear it too, to be quite honest.
Okay, all right. So if it's Ben&Ben, then it's probably the song that I still do karaoke with was probably Katong Isip. So it would, man, Katong Isip, I've been sung it so long too. So di ba nang ito ang iyong gusto? To'y lilisan na ako. Mga ala-alay babayon. keep on telling me snang kahapon. And then it just goes from there. But I would, I love love Ben&Ben. Still super jealous that Mike got to meet Ben&Ben. So
Amazing, amazing. Ben Phillips singing Ben&Ben in the debut of the Navs Effect on playback. I am honored and touched. We got a few more questions here. Good point there, Tonyo. Ben soon. Okay, I like that. The three Bens. I don't think their names are Ben though, but
yeah.
at least there would be one name Ben. From Mike, make a UAP starting five season 84 to 86, but excluding DLSU players. From JM, who is your bias in Binny? And from Tonyo, who won the Kendrick Drake beef?
Interesting. So UAP starting five. Wow. So I think Jerome Lastimosa. I think Ange Kwame. I'll give it to Dave Ildefonso as well. That's three. Who would be some good power forward? I would say Zay Lucero there. And then another guard, I would say, actually, who I really loved watching, who's kind of taking a little break now, but who still has a bunch of good game, is Kobe Paras. Loved watching his highlights, loved watching his game. So that would be my starting five.
Interestingly enough, I did learn today that Kobe Paras will not join the PBA draft this year. There's something to get out of it. Go on, Ben.
Mm-hmm. So who won the Kendrick Drake beef? I love Drake's music, but man, Kendrick Lamar is they call him the boogeyman for a reason. So that's what I'll.
If there's one guy you don't beef against, it's Kendrick. I mean, come on, right?
Everybody should just take the J. Cole method and just kind of bow out early, because we saw what happened when if you stay in that fire too long, you'll get burned.
Oh my god! And who is your bias in Binny? JM wants to find out. I'm not even sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but apparently it's a popular topic now. Go for it.
Probably Colette. Colette is Colette's my girl there.
Yeah. Nice choice, SJM. Batak says the PBA should ask you to sing in the opening of season 49. I agree. I absolutely agree. We answered this earlier, but Basket BPH wants to ask, and this seems like a Converge fan. So, Converge. I'm wearing purple. Might be a sign. I don't know. Converge, one of the teams with high draft picks this upcoming draft. Ben, what made you decide on joining the PBA draft, if you had to summarize it in one or two sentences?
Just missing not just my brothers, but yung mga kababayans dyan, yung entire Filipinos that supported me in my journey. And then number two, just yung yearning ko sa professional basketball, kasi gusto ko yung naglalaro sa PBA, kasi yung historic league dyan, yung prominent leagues sa Asia. So sa akin po, I really want to give back to the PBA and give back to the Philippines and really bring a lot of light to the PBA.
This is another good question. Who do you base your game after? Any PBA players?
I think, like I said before, my answers won't deviate from where I believe that I want to go, is the Calvin Oftanas of the world, the Jamie Malonzos. They have a slightly different game than me. I'm more of a rugged, more of a power forward, and they're more of a slasher 3-and-D type player. But I want to transition my game to that size. Now, obviously, I'll still keep my rugged base, my rebounding, my defensiveness, but I want to kind of play more of a positionless game where I was able to do some of that in LaSalle, but I still want to kind of expand my game a bit more.
Hello to all 16 viewers. Welcome to the debut episode of the Navs Effect on Playback. Glad to be a part of this program. Another question from Basket BPH. And by the way, to those who want to ask questions, you can come on stage and ask it, or you can send them in the comment box, so don't be shy. Any team you look out for in the draft, or shall we say, a wish list? Ben did mention earlier that he likes learning from Coach Jong, so maybe NLEX, but there are other teams out there too, maybe that you would like.
I would love to kind of keep learning under Coach Kaloy Garcia, at Rain or Shine. So, they would be another team that's there. And obviously the San Miguel and the Beermen and Coach Tim Cohn as well on the other side. I think they would be a fantastic organization to learn from. They've been doing this for a very long time at a very high level. They've mastered something, and not just on the court, but in the locker room as well with their organization. So I'd always love to be a part of them. And like I said before, maraming salamat sa late boss ECJ for giving me my chance in LaSalle, and I really appreciate them and Sir Boss Ramon Ong for all your support as well.
Basket BPH wants to know, representing Converge, should we trade up for you? We badly need a backup for Justin Arana, perhaps with Balti. Let's change the question a bit, but in line with that, what would Converge get from you if Converge does pick you in the draft, Benjamin?
Well, I think especially with a decorated coach and Coach Alden Ayo, speaking with Deshaun as well, and his love for the organization, I think my work ethic, my determination would fit right in, because they're almost with the same gumption as a college team, is that they're going to run, they're going to transition, they're going to attack, they're never going to say die, they're going to do things that I feel like a lot of PBA teams are going to have a lot of trouble with, and we've seen that. We actually scrimmaged a lot of them when I was at LaSalle, and kind of just seeing how hard they play and their dedication to each other and to their coach. So that's what they're going to get from me. They're going to get a guy who's going to dive on the floor, who's going to yell from the sidelines, who's going to call out defenses, who's going to box out, whether it's the biggest import from everybody else or, pick up the point guard full court. That's what I'm looking to do for any team.
Amazing. You would be a great fit there. Another question here from Denzel. How was your sorry about that. How's your volleyball playing year for DLSU? Could you share some memories and struggles if there are some? And I believe you didn't join the team for season 86, just 85, right?
Yeah, just the 1 year that I did. I mean, it was fantastic. I love volleyball, even in high school, dual sport athlete. So I was able to kind of transition back, and it was very difficult personally, because I would have because volleyball trains twice a day. So I would have volleyball training from 7 to 10 or 7 to 9 or whatever that was in the morning, then back again from 1 to 4, then basketball from 4 to 7. So, I mean, it was, and that's on top of me finalizing my MBA thesis and still getting up early and doing my work overseas with my companies. So it was a lot. But I think that taught me a lot about time management. And I love volleyball. I find volleyball very, very exciting. So I'm glad that globally men's volleyball is on the rise. I know that women's volleyball is extremely exciting, and the PBL is doing some amazing things. So shout out to all the ladies that are really doing some amazing things in the PBL. But no, I think getting us back to the Final Four from a DLSU Spiker standpoint, I was glad to be a part of that. They have a bunch of stars in Noel, Campton, and a bunch of those guys. So they're also my family as well.
Fantastic. A good question here from Mike. Who's your favorite Philippine volleyball player in the male and female divisions?
I think Brian Bagunas is just an amazing. I mean, what he can do, how high he can jump, how hard he hits. I mean, he's been doing that since high school, and so he's just been fantastic. In his career. I'm glad he got a stint overseas, and I'm not sure what he's doing now, but I know whatever he's doing, he's going to be amazing. And then I would say female right now, just because she's one of my good friends, and everybody thought we were related. Actually, is MJ Phillips. So MJ Phillips, Petrogas, and she just got back from a stint in Korea as well. We play the same position, middle blocker. So I'll always spike on her. She can't block me. So that's something that we go back and forth about. But Petrogas, shout out to Petrogas as well. They're a fantastic organization. So I know they're going to make a lot of noise this upcoming conference.
Good question here from Denzel. Kuya Ben, do you still have the socks we gave you after a game in season 85?
Yes, I do.
Archer's team.
Yes, I do. They are actually upstairs. I have a memorabilia closet. And so a lot of my jerseys are there, my socks, my shoes, a bunch of stuff that, you amazing fans gave when we were in the process of that season. So, I mean, I still have them. I remember exactly where they are. I just will never wear them because I want to frame them, actually, because I love those. I love those socks. So thank you again for that.
Look at that, Denzel. Something you gave Benjamin will be framed and live forever. Now, I've had you here for a while, and the questions from the people have been awesome. Thank you so much. it's just been so fun. I love this program. I love this platform. We're using playback, a great way to connect, people like inspirations to the fans and the viewers. So looking forward to do more of this. And by the way, to those who have been commenting, I hope you guys have also subscribed to the channel because we have more
Please
content to
subscribe.
come. Gonna try to do a daily thing here in playback. Maybe make it like a modern radio station. We'll see. Definitely, I will have Ben again in the future. Ben, before I close here, first of all, I want to thank you again. And second, I want you to share us a never before told story of the DLSU Green Archers from this past season. Give us a story, whether that could be the first round, second round, the finals, final four, it could even be training camp, preseason, or just any time during the season that no one knows of yet. But when you look back at it, you can say, oh, that was funny, or that was epic, that was important. Give us a story.
Hmm. I think that we had talked about this briefly before, but before the season, we had met with Boss Razan. And to all of us, especially us players, we were very, we had never met him before.
Nervous?
We were very nervous because this is the big boss. And I just remember, before we went, I did all my research on him. I was gonna be able to speak to all of his companies. I was gonna be able to speak to everything he's doing. Um, and then I remember after we won the championship, he again treated us to another one of his restaurants in Solaire, and we gave him one of our DLSU jackets. And now I think that was the first time that I had personally seen him smile. And because before in the first conversation that we had at the beginning of the season, he was just saying that it's do or die. It's either you get a championship or you guys are just a bunch of tall guys that eat too much. And then at the end of the season, we were able to bring home the championship. And he was so excited, and we were so thankful for his support and following the team. And he just said, "Thanks so much. You guys better do it again next year." So, and then he left. So I mean, it was amazing just to share those few moments with Boss Razan and the rest of our managers, and that just speaks to kind of the great organization that LaSalle is. Boss Raffy, Boss Terry, Boss Chief Justice, Tito Johnny Air, and Boss Manscarpio, just an amazing organization that's well run. They're fantastic. They take care of us, and I think us as players were able to kind of see that, and that really made us strive for greatness as well, because we had an entire community behind us, and so that championship run. Especially after we had the ring ceremony put on by Mayor Zamora and all of our alums, that was just something that I'll never forget for the rest of my life.
Absolutely. I was there for the drink ceremony too, and something magical was in the air, right? It didn't feel that way a few days later when UP won game one, but there's something
Right.
about that night that I really think was important in helping you guys win the championship. Thank you for sharing that story, Ben. Thanks for joining me here. Now, some people are asking for a Nav bomb, Denzil, and Basket BPH1's Shams like report. I will share three things, okay? So for you 10 viewers still on the stream right now, I will share three things. No specifics, but three things I'm hearing. One, Ben might not be the last DLSU player to join the draft this year. Number two, the UE Red Warriors have a notable new recruit. I haven't announced it yet, but he's someone who's going to be a key player for the team in the UAAP. And number three, expect something big from someone who either played or plays for the Ateneo Blue Eagles. Something next week to be announced. So I dropped three little, not bombs, but little biscuits on the floor. That should be interesting. Benjamin Phillips, everybody. Benjamin, I know I've said this multiple times, but I will say it again and again. You're an outstanding person. You are a great basketball player, and even better businessman, I think. But most of all, an outstanding person. Your parents raised you, Michael, Isaiah, incredibly well. The way you take care of your brothers, the way you guys stay close to each other. But most of all, the way you guys just treat everybody you meet, whether that's someone at the games or a VIP person or even somebody in the street. It goes to show how much character that you all have. And I am beyond fortunate to have you as my first guest here on Playback on the Navs Effect. I can't wait to see you again. Can't wait to watch your pro career. Can't wait to see what
Thank
else
you.
you're going to do, because if there's one thing I'm sure of is that Benjamin Phillips is going to make a positive impact in this world in more ways than one.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you. I thank you so much for bringing me on. And also, as my last shout out, thanks so much to Phil Nation. I'll be with them in a few weeks, actually, at their camp in Chicago, kind of imparting the same conversation that we talked about to a whole bunch of players there. So it's all about passing it on for the next generation. And Naveen, I think that your coverage, your journalism, your input, your relationship with players, coaches, and organizations across the entire world is phenomenal for us. Because you're very easy to talk to. You're an amazing host. We feel comfortable with you, and we appreciate all of the coverage. So again, keep doing what you're doing, brother. I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
My God. Hey, you gotta get that coffee when you're back, yeah?
Absolutely.
For sure, for sure. Appreciate you, Ben. Stay safe and God bless. Godspeed, man. And thanks
Ingat po
to everyone
tayo.
who tuned in. Appreciate y'all. Maraming salamat. Ingat.
Salamat po.